The war in Israel escalates as hundreds are killed in an explosion at a hospital in Gaza. And tonight, a Utah man is grateful to be home.
We're locals, we speak the language, and we have a staff that lives there.
What he says about families still in Jerusalem tonight.
One day after a 12-year-old boy was left in critical condition, a Utah man says he's been pushing for change at this crosswalk for decades.
And it's just a dirty, rotten shame.
What city leaders say is in the works to address this issue.
Weather so nice you'll have to pinch yourself to see that it's true. Will it last? I'll let you know.
It's one of Utah's last remaining dry cities, but some say it's time for change.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard choice to make.
The plan that goes beyond buying and selling alcohol, and why not everyone in the community agrees.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
Tonight, the hostilities in Israel have reached a boiling point. A blast at a hospital in Gaza has left at least 500 people dead, and it's still unclear who was behind the horrific explosion. Thank you for joining us tonight, everyone. I'm Kelly Chapman.
And I'm Bob Evans. Because of that blast, President Joe Biden's trip to Jordan has been called off. He was scheduled to visit the country tomorrow after stopping in Israel. But White House officials say following the hospital explosion in Gaza, the meeting will be postponed. Hamas has blamed Israel for the explosion at the hospital, while Israel says the rocket that hit the hospital did not belong to them.
Intelligence from few sources that we have in our hands indicates that the Islamic Jihad is responsible for the failed rocket launch which hit the hospital in Gaza.
Tomorrow, President Biden was supposed to meet with the King of Jordan and the President of the Palestinian Authority, as well as the President of Egypt. A Jordanian official says all parties agreed to the cancellation, saying the summit would not achieve any goals under the current circumstances.
Utah residents who were on a tour in Israel have made it out of the country all unharmed.
The tour was led by members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree spoke with the man who's been guiding these tours for 50 years.
The moment you step out of the aircraft or cross the border into Israel, you feel the holy of the Holy Land. It's not made up, it's just a blessed sense of comfort and understanding.
Israeli-born and Utah-bound, Daniel Rona says about 30,000 people have gone on his Israel Revealed tours.
Israel is actually very peaceful. There are difficulties. What most people don't know is that we have rocket attacks almost daily in the southern part of Israel, close to the Gaza Strip.
While Rona is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the tour company is not tied to the religion in an official capacity. He says his son Stephen was guiding the most recent tour when Hamas started attacking Israel.
We're the only Latter-day Saints who are licensed guides. It's a requirement in Israel to have a licensed guide, and the reason for it is pretty obvious. We know what's going on. We're connected to the military, we're connected to the police, we're locals, we speak the language, and we have a staff that lives there.
Rona normally goes to Israel every other month. He says his children are still over there in Jerusalem. He says this won't be the first time Israel Revealed has to pause its tours, and it won't be the last.
We've gone through this 4 or 5 times. We're still there. And people return. It's because of their faith and their inspiration, and they know they've got locals taking care of them.
In Salt Lake City, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Stay with Fox 13 News as we continue to follow the war in Israel, both on air and online at fox13now.com.
We have an update on breaking news from last night. A 12-year-old boy is in critical condition after being hit by a suspected impaired driver yesterday near Bella Vista Elementary on Fort Union Boulevard in Cottonwood Heights.
David Finch, who lives nearby, says for more than 30 years he's been asking for changes at the crosswalk where the boy was hit.
Everybody wants to do something, but nothing seems to be able to get done. And it's just a dirty, rotten shame that here we have another young man that is going to be in bad shape for a while.
Fox 13 News asked Cottonwood Heights officials about crosswalk improvements at that intersection. They declined an on-camera interview, but did say they have, quote, been taking significant steps to address the safety of this intersection since 2021. The city says the project is in the 2023-24 budget year, and the city is doing all it can to expedite the process.
Fox 13 News is driven to change to make Utah's roads safer. If you witness hazards on the road, notice dangerous driving habits, have concerns about road safety, or think you have a solution to any of these issues, send an email to news@fox13now.com. We're learning more about the auto pedestrian accident in Orem that left a 17-year-old girl dead last night.
Police say it happened near 400 South Vineyard Road. Crews tried to save her life, but they were not successful. The driver stayed on scene and is cooperating. Now, the victim's name has not yet been released, but a statement from the Provo City School District said that she was a student within the district. They say a crisis team was at the girls' school today and will be available tomorrow for any students or staff who need support or resources.
Alcohol continues to be the talk of the town in a dry city in Utah County. So much so that residents are calling it a community war started by a developer.
The city of Highland says 62% of homes have already given their opinion on the alcohol sales ban. Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser asked residents what they think will happen.
Since the city was founded decades ago, in Highland, Utah, you can't buy alcohol at the store or at a restaurant.
It's been in controversy for a decade, one way or the other.
Company MNG Development is hoping to be exempt from that city law, and it all has to do with this lot near Timpanogos Highway and North Alpine Highway.
Because that's the process that's outlined in code.
It's where they want to put in a new shopping center with a play area, stores, and many restaurants.
It's a little bit tricky, because would we prefer to have alcohol sold? No, but I like that it's a draw for bigger types of restaurants.
If approved, restaurants in this commercial area would be allowed to serve alcohol, but the city council could also consider allowing it citywide. Neighbors are filling out city surveys to share what they think.
I don't necessarily want, alcohol just sold everywhere. I mean, that's something that's kind of special about Highland, so yeah, it's hard. It's a hard choice to make.
Right now, a wall blocks off the western border of that lot.
These businesses over here.
Paul Merritt could care less about whether or not customers can drink a beer near his home. He's concerned about the traffic.
That's a blessing and a curse for here. It's good for tax dollars, but it's a curse for the neighbors.
According to a 2014 study by the Utah Beer Wholesalers Association, Highland is one of 10 dry communities in Utah.
It's not so much of a small community anymore, and Utah's growing as is, so I feel like it would just make more sense to just kind of allow it and make people let that decision for themselves.
In relations to alcohol, I'm against it.
Please vote to approve the alcohol amendment.
At Tuesday night's city council meeting, every public comment speaker had something to say about alcohol. The council won't make any decisions until January, but October 20th is the deadline for the survey.
It really upsets me that this whole community war was started by a developer.
In Highland, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, it's a beautiful night out there, and I tell you what, hard to improve on perfection, Dan.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Oh my, beautiful weather, no doubt about it. How about the view here on the Boulder Mountains? Oh, just fantastic. Well, let me get out of the way so you can see the whole thing. This was taken by Mark Hammond. We thank him for sending it along to us, and want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to enjoy the beautiful, absolutely gorgeous weather we're having here in Utah. And more of the same is going to happen coming up in the future. As we look at the latest satellite, there's that little storm on the coast. Here's the little one that went through today. No big problems. We have clear skies and the sunny weather. High temperatures today were so perfect. 74 in Ogden, 73 here in the capital city. It was 81 in Cedar City, 87 in St. George. Overnight tonight, expect a low of 48 under clear skies. And for the next couple of days, expect those temperatures to remain 10 to 15 degrees above average, and average is 65 this time of the year. I'll have more on what might be a pretty good forecast. You may not like all of it, but I'll have the details in just a bit.
They're feeling like their heart is racing, or they have trouble going from laying down to standing up.
There is hope for people dealing with long COVID. We'll share some promising new developments.
I just like the old-fashioned way. It just kind of fits our style.
A candy store that sticks to the old-fashioned way of doing things. It's our latest Utah-made feature after the break.
Mr. Everything, that's what they called Sione Vaki in high school. Coming up, I'll tell you how that nickname has caught on with the Utah football team.
We are tracking breaking news just into the Fox 13 newsroom. We have learned a man is dead and a woman is in critical condition after a hang glider and a tandem paraglider collided in midair this evening. It happened at 153rd South Steep Mountain Drive just after 5 p.m., about an eighth of a mile south of the launch pad. Draper police say the female passenger of the paraglider was taken to the hospital with her injuries. The male pilot of the paraglider died at the scene. He has been identified as 44-year-old Joshua Ellison. The hang glider was not hurt. We'll continue to follow the story and bring you more as we get it. Kathleen Johnson Eyring, wife of President Henry B. Eyring, second counselor in the first presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, passed away peacefully Sunday. She had suffered with an extended illness. She was surrounded by her family at their home in Bountiful. A public viewing will take place Friday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at Russin Brothers Mortuary in Bountiful. The funeral will be held the next day. Sister Eyring was 82 years old. There could be a breakthrough in figuring out what causes the lingering disease known as long COVID. It has to do with low serotonin levels. Researchers from the University of Pennsylvania have found COVID-19 particles can stay in the intestinal tract long after infection. That includes an inflammatory response, and that inflammatory response means less serotonin. That's a chemical messenger between the brain and the body. It impacts body temperature regulation, mood, sleep, and memory.
I would say that the next steps would be, of course, to get a better, deeper mechanistic understanding of what exactly is going on and between the gut and the brain and the other symptoms.
Researchers will also study Prozac, part of a class of drugs called SSRIs that raise serotonin levels in the brain. Right now, there is no cure for long COVID. Kelly?
You know, there's just something about a chocolate shop that makes you feel good. It's a feast for the senses, isn't it? In tonight's Utah Made, I learned how one Utahn with a sweet business mind took her love for goodies to her home kitchen and whipped up a successful venture.
I don't know.
One step inside.
And it's just the flavor.
The nostalgia of being a kid in a candy shop.
You can't beat it, because it is homemade and you can watch them make it right here.
Black Forest, what is in it?
Is on full display.
We're the chocolate covered wagon. We're made here in Utah, and this is our 37th year.
For over 3 decades, Cindy Robeson has been sweetening up Salt Lake County. Growing up in a family business.
My father owned all the Orange Julius's in Utah at the time.
Cindy had the background to open her own venture, and serving up sweets was her passion.
It was a learning curve. It was a learning experience for me. There was no YouTube, where usually today you can learn anything on YouTube, but in those days it was like go to the library and get all these recipes and try stuff and burn stuff and learn the hard way.
It's those tried and true recipes the chocolate covered wagon is known for.
I just like the old-fashioned way. It just kind of fits our style.
From scratch?
Yes.
Always from scratch?
Yes. always, only.
From the caramel hand stirred with a paddle in a copper pot to saltwater taffy.
Our taffy has lots of butter and cream, and it has a little bit of salt from the Great Salt Lake. And we have an old puller. It's probably close to 100 years old.
That mesmerizes just about everyone who passes by.
What's the best thing about owning and operating candy stores?
You know what? I think it's the customers.
Okay,
I just love Utah. You know, I just don't think I'd be happy anywhere else.
The chocolate-covered wagon really is a sugar rush of choices.
You spin it.
From caramel apples, filled chocolates, popcorn, taffy, and fudge. Everyone seems to have a favorite.
I think caramel.
Do you like caramel?
Yeah.
You know, most taffy has twists.
A sweet dream of Cindy's, now Utah made for everyone to enjoy.
Homegrown here, and it's going to stay here forever, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, man. Just
Wow.
the smell of the chocolate-covered wagon. It gets you. Yes, those
I didn't get
apples
any
are
dessert
delicious.
tonight, you know?
I
didn't
know. The chocolate-covered wagon, Bob, has been featured on the Food Network. That's where their homemade caramel and those caramel apples really gained fame.
Oh.
And this is going to blow you away. Last October, the harvest season, they sold 30,000 candy apples.
Holy cow.
Yes, so I guess that's the official October treat, a caramel apple, right?
Yeah.
You can visit the chocolate-covered wagon in Gardner Village in West Jordan and in Sandy. Enjoy. Hey, what about your business? If you are Utah made, starting your business in our state and producing your product right here, we would love to share your story as well. Just email me at kellychapman.fox13.com. Fox13now.com, I had to think.
Yeah.
It's like when somebody asks you your phone number
Yeah,
and you're
what's
like,
your
hold
phone
on,
number?
what's my phone number?
Yeah.
What's my email address? There it is. Email me.
Kelly.chapman@fox13now.com.
You got it.
Caramel apples. Oh, I can just taste it. And the Granny Smith underneath that.
It's the tart
caramel.
apple with the sweet
Ooh, so
caramel on top.
good.
And
So
they're
good.
caramel, you know, all homemade with real cream and sugar.
That
all
taffy
good stuff.
that taffy pulling machine. I wish we had that when we were little kids because we used to pull taffy at Grandma and Grandpa's house all the time.
Yep, there you go. As beautiful as the fall trees have been this year, but maybe a little better smelling, maybe not. I know that the trees, when they're all colored like this, they smell pretty good. Kelly, you didn't bring us a candy apple.
I know, next
what's up
time.
with
I
that?
know,
Yeah.
I know. What was I thinking?
Yeah, you weren't.
Wondering, you know, you show it to us and now we're all hungry. All right, the Northwest, there's a storm. It's an atmospheric river pounding parts of British Columbia. But right now, it appears that everything is moving north with that push towards British Columbia. We're under some high pressure right now. It's going to stay that way. Outside in Salt Lake City, a mild 61. You know, the average high for this time of the year is 65, and here we are 61 at this time of the night. A little light south wind. St. George, it is very warm, 75 degrees. South wind is 5. Across the region, mostly 50s. We have a few 60s, as you well know. Talked about Salt Lake City. We had a little bit of an inversion today. We also had a bit of wind over in the Uinta Basin and across southwest Wyoming. Rock Springs is 55 right now. So here's this storm that went by. It just brought a little wind, like I said, and that's about it. Some clouds kind of moving in across the region. High pressure, though, and that atmospheric river still pounding British Columbia as we head into, well, about Thursday. Nice big ridge of high pressure. This stays until Friday. Maybe a few clouds on Saturday as this little weak weather system moves by. As we move into Sunday, here's a trough on the west coast. This is going to start edging our way. So increasing clouds and a warm southerly wind on Sunday. You know, the trees are still going to be nice to see. A lot of the leaves are falling, but pick your favorite spot. This is going to be such a nice weekend, even if it's not as perfect as it has been with the fall colors. You might want to get out and enjoy it. Monday, we have kind of a little bit of an uncertainty. The computer models are saying, well, storms are going to come in. Others are saying it might cut off. But the bottom line is we're going to see a chance for showers on Monday and Tuesday. And look what happens on Wednesday. Something bigger may be developing. Again, computer models, this is the European computer model, there's the United States one, and there's the Canadian one, and they're not all exactly certain on what's going to happen. But this one says we'll get a pretty good storm next week. In the meantime, we'll look for a temperature tomorrow of 70 degrees. The average, like I said, is 65, so sunny, pleasant, warmer as we head into the rest of the week. 70 in Vernal as well. Oh, nice in Richfield, 73. And St. George, your high is going to be 87, then 88 and 89. Once again, we're 10 to 15 degrees above average for this time of the year. And then as I showed you, Monday and Tuesday, we've got that cooler weather system moving in, a chance for a thunder shower on Monday. Now the Wasatch Front, all it does is warm up. It's going to be so perfect out there. It's like I said, pinch yourself, because this is not going to be November, okay? When we get into November and December, this will all be in the past. And even on Monday and Tuesday of next week, things will start to cool down. We'll have a slight chance for a few showers and thunder showers. Like I said, a little uncertain as to how big they will be next week. But right now, perfect weather ahead.
Thanks so much, Dan. Election day in the Ogden mayoral race is about a month away. Candidate debates continue, but one candidate withdrew from a debate scheduled for tomorrow night. We'll explain why. Welcome back, everyone. A Harriman man now dead after a crash in West Jordan overnight.
Police say just after 4:30 a.m. they received a report of a vehicle that crashed into the south side of the Smith's grocery store at 1820 West 90th South. First responders found 47-year-old Tyler Taumoli and pronounced him dead at the scene. He was the only person in the vehicle, and no other vehicles were involved. The cause of the crash is under investigation.
In Ogden, a driver suffered a medical issue behind the wheel and crashed into a building in the 2600 block of Lincoln Avenue earlier this afternoon. Take a look at the damage. Police say the driver was in the parking lot of the Weber Human Services when he passed out and unknowingly hit the gas. The passenger was able to steer the vehicle through the parking lot, across Lincoln Avenue, and then into a building. Both people had minor injuries, but the building sustained major damage.
State authorities are investigating a death at the Central Utah Correctional Facility, now thought to be a homicide. According to a search warrant, investigators are asking for DNA swabs of Gage Anthony Deinhardt. He was the cellmate of 66-year-old Stephen Davis and the last person law enforcement believes saw Davis alive. Davis was found unresponsive on the morning of September 24th. The search warrant reveals Davis was found with a braided cloth around his neck.
Lehigh police now need your help to identify the three people in these photographs. Take a look here. They're believed to be connected to the theft of an $11,000 bike from the bike peddler shop in town. Now take a really good look, because these are good, clear pictures. If you know who any of these men are, please reach out to Lehigh Police.
The state is proposing some new rules impacting mineral extraction from the Great Salt Lake.
It's a topic we don't like to talk about, but it is necessary. I'm showing you what National Estate Planning Week is all about and why you should make it a priority.
Coming up, we'll hear from the Cougars on how they hope to turn things around, plus the state semifinals in high school girls soccer.
If you are just joining us, we do want to get you up to speed on the war in Israel. Israelis and Palestinians are each blaming the other for a massive hospital explosion in Gaza that killed more than 500 people. Because of the attack and rising tensions, President Biden will not visit Jordan this week.
It also governs everything from, making sure that the lake doesn't get impaired through the, development of lithium.
New rules are being laid down by the state when it comes to a lucrative type of mineral extraction on the Great Salt Lake.
They're designed to save the lake, which is still in decline. Fox 13 News political reporter Ben Winslow explains.
Lithium is very much in demand in our electrified world. It's used in things like batteries, phones, and electric vehicles. Lithium is naturally occurring in the Great Salt Lake, and companies are extracting the increasingly precious mineral. The state is now proposing some new rules.
So the companies that are currently extracting minerals have been doing so under agreements that were written in the, the 60s and the 70s. And so those are some pretty antiquated leases, and they haven't really modernized.
The Utah legislature passed a bill earlier this year reworking how companies extract minerals from the Great Salt Lake and the amount of money they pay to the state in royalties. But with the Great Salt Lake in decline and the ecological threat that poses to Utah, the Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands is requiring companies to re-examine how much water they use.
It can be a water-intensive process. That's what we're making sure we're figuring out. So there are folks out there that say they can extract lithium without depleting water. And so if that's the case, that's wonderful. But we got to make sure that as water goes in and lithium gets taken out and what goes back in, that doesn't, harm the lake somehow.
Environmental groups are looking at the rule. So are major mineral companies who do some lithium extraction on the Great Salt Lake. Compass Minerals says it wants to ensure the rule is fair and reasonable for everyone. U.S. Magnesium says it will offer the state feedback on what's proposed.
And we've been there for 50 years. We think we've been a good stewardship both economically and ecologically and environmentally on the lake. And it's really complex. And from our view, it could go from being nearly no effect at all to a sea change kind of thing. It could be really significant changes.
In the rule, the state appears to be dangling a lithium carrot in front of these companies. The goal is to minimize mineral extraction that depletes water from the Great Salt Lake. So the less water they use in extracting lithium, the less they have to pay in royalties to the state.
They would get a substantial percentage reduction on the lithium royalty rate.
The proposed rule is now open for public comment. If there's no substantial changes, it could go into effect next year and change how business is done in the name of protecting the Great Salt Lake.
The Great Salt Lake is absolutely one of the most important things that we work on right now, and so we want to make sure that we're not degrading the lake by extracting lithiums.
At the Great Salt Lake, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Fox 13 News is a part of the Great Salt Lake Collaborative. It's a group of local news outlets, academic groups, and community organizations calling attention to the Great Salt Lake and ways to save it. Find out more by visiting the link on your screen.
Utah Governor Spencer Cox has issued a pair of executive orders promoting volunteerism and service. He announced it today while participating in a service project in West Valley City with the Granite Education Foundation. One executive order gives Utah's 24,000 state government employees 2 hours of leave a month to participate in service projects. Now, the other order requires companies seeking economic development incentives from the state to provide their employees with 20 hours of service hours.
This is a really important marker for us to let people know that this is who we are as a state. It is part of our DNA. It's part of an expectation that we have, and we expect businesses that relocate here to the state of Utah to also give back and help improve the state.
You may remember Fox 13 News reported earlier this month, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson proposed having high school students do mandatory service as a condition of high school graduation.
We are a little more than a month from Election Day for Ogden City Mayor. Ahead of that, candidates Taylor Knuth and Ben Nadolski have been participating in debates and forums to share their platforms. But we have learned that Nadolski has withdrawn from a debate scheduled for tomorrow night, set to be hosted by the Better Utah Institute at Weber State University. Nadolski says he made this decision after the John R. Park Debate Society at the University of Utah withdrew from co-hosting the debate.
We agreed to participate in this debate. We did so because we knew there would be a neutral third party that would moderate the event, and that would help ensure fairness, transparency, and political independence. Unfortunately, that party withdrew from participation, citing concerns related to fairness and transparency.
Knuth says he does not have these same concerns as Nadolski and plans to still be at the event scheduled for tomorrow night.
We received access to the same amount of information, and really at the end of the day, this debate is about the voters and really being fair and transparent with our voters. And that means showing up to this debate, which is exactly what we're doing.
Both agree that debates are an integral part of the electoral process. Nadolski and Knuth still plan on debating at the KUER PBS Utah debate scheduled for Thursday night at Weber State University, as well as other future debates scheduled.
Still to come, one of Utah's most famous residents is not moving away after all. We'll explain who posted up to shut down the rumor. Death can be a difficult topic to bring up with the people you love, but during this National Estate Planning Week, this may be a good time to take a look at your current estate plan or start creating one.
Fox 13 News investigative consumer reporter Robin Oginye shows us why it's important to make this a priority.
An estate plan includes premeditated decisions about your end-of-life care and financial decisions for when you're unable to state your preferences. It answers questions like what happens when you pass away, who takes your property, and who is in charge of that process. It's never too early to start thinking about the process. An attorney I talked to says any adult 18 and older should take steps to create an estate plan. It starts with thinking about the important people in your life that you would want to include in your plans. You might think estate planning is a pricey process since it can involve lawyers, but you don't have to opt for the more expensive route.
You don't necessarily need to go to the attorney's office to create a plan. Instead, you can go online, go to a website, and start answering some simple questions. Who do I want my property to go to? Who do I want to be in charge? And you can get those very important documents without visiting with an attorney.
Life event markers are a good time to revisit your estate plan if you have one. For instance, having children, getting married, getting divorced, receiving a one-fall inheritance from parents or another family member. If none of that is applicable to you, the general rule is to revisit your estate plan every 3 to 5 years. That way you can give yourself a chance to make any changes you want. If you need help getting started, visit this story on fox13now.com and click the link you see with the story. Robin Oginye, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Coming up, it was a sight to see as thousands flocked to the west to see the annular eclipse. But just how much of an economic impact did the uptick in tourists really have in Utah?
Coming up in sports, there were some great finishes of the high school girls soccer semifinals, and Mr. Everything is getting it done for the Utes. We'll hear about Utah's two-way star, Sione Vaki.
This morning, Zion National Park hosted a naturalization ceremony, officially welcoming dozens of new citizens of the United States of America into citizenship. The candidates came from 15 countries around the world. This marks the second time Zion hosted a naturalization ceremony. Isn't that great? Welcome to the U.S. Well, it was a sight to see right here in Utah. A moment of darkness as the moon moved between the sun and the earth, leaving what is known as the Ring of Fire for people to see. The eclipse could be seen as far south as South America. It was the last one Utah will see until the year 2045, Kel.
So you had to catch it when you could, right?
Yeah.
People came from all over the world to be in the direct path of the eclipse this past weekend. Fox 13 News anchor Amy Nay looks at how it helped the economy in some of Utah's small towns.
A lot of great memories, man.
And a lot of money brought into central Utah this weekend. At Bryce Canyon National Park, crowds gathered, but also in the rural towns like Beaver, Fillmore, and Richfield.
Yeah, it was something we don't see in Richfield very often. Every now and then we see one or two, but I heard that there were 77 planes here.
Jeff Razor, executive director of the Richfield Area Chamber of Commerce, says those pilots and their passengers, for the most part, didn't just touch and go.
A lot of people came and they at least ate at restaurants and helped our local economy that way. So that was appreciated.
I know a lot of people were hoping for big crowds and that they would come and maybe leave some of their money behind. Do you think they saw some of that?
Some of it. We had heard, projected 30,000 people coming to Richfield, and we definitely did not get near. We might have gotten a third of that.
Still, this region saw a real boon thanks to the natural phenomenon.
It was crazy. The hotels were full, not normal for this time of the year.
Carrie Laspina has run Sherwood Forest, a specialty candle and unique gift shop on Main Street in Beaver the past 22 years.
It was constant business.
Keeping his doors open later than usual to accommodate all the customers streaming in.
If you can add something to your year with an event like that, that's that's really special.
His one-of-a-kind store, he hopes, will bring those visitors back for more.
Beaver seems to be the halfway point between every place in the world.
About 1,800 people came to Snow College's Richfield campus for their ringside seats to the eclipse.
They did an amazing job. We went over there, and my kids were loving it. They did a bunch of STEM activities and projects. There were cheers and horns honking and you name it. People, I don't know, it was like the end of an Avengers movie or something, you know, everybody was all excited.
Adding with or without the eclipse, there's still good reason to come and visit again soon. Reporting in Central Utah, Amy Nay, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Wow. Isn't that cool?
Very neat. Wow. Something cool for our state and in the sky.
Yes. Leaves us all richer. Well, we've got some good news for those who are sad to hear that rapper Post Malone was planning on moving from the Beehive State. He shared an update on social media, and here's what he had to say.
Yeah, he said fake news. No.
Fake news.
We originally reported on Fox 13 News Live at 5 that he was moving away from Utah. That is incorrect. So today on the Howard Stern Show, the star said that he wants to expand the place he calls home to add a bunker with a bowling alley and a carport and a swimming pool in it, and he needs more space. Now, he has not shared where he plans to get any more land. Maybe it will be here in Utah. Maybe it will be an addition to his existing home he's already in Cottonwood Heights.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, but everybody not only needs a bunker, but they also need a bowling alley, a carport, and a swimming pool in the bunker.
Right?
Just in case, you know.
Just to make sure you got enough room when you
Have
have
to
the
do
relatives, the
some
in-laws over.
emergency bowling, you know,
Yeah.
you might have to.
Got to have that. Love bowling, by the way. Love the beautiful pictures we've been sent to us here. Utah's Weather Authority. This is Cascade Peak. Brett Haddock, good friend of mine. Thank you for sharing this with us. A storm in the northwest, but it's primarily staying away for several days. We have a nice weather pattern settling into the Beehive State, and temperatures which are fairly mild for this time of the year will continue. We have 61 in Salt Lake City, 75 in St. George, and across the region those temperatures are in the 40s and 50s. It's kind of warmer in the Uinta Basin, associated with a little bit of wind today. We had some wind across southwest Wyoming. That weak cool front moved by. But again, we're going to see the impulses of moisture continuing to divert north of us, and this ridge of high pressure is going to continue and strengthen. Actually, it's going to become quite strong as we head into Thursday. Look at how far north the jet stream is. This is atmospheric river moisture that will be moving into British Columbia. It will continue on Friday, but there is a weak little disturbance that'll come by, probably bring us a few clouds Saturday. Might be an isolated shower in the Uintas. A deepening storm along the coast, though, finally pushes that ridge to the south. And on Sunday, it looks like it may be a little bit of a split situation, and we always call the splits the pits when we're trying to forecast the weather, because it's difficult to forecast splitting jet streams in the Beehive State. Nevertheless, some showers on Sunday and probably on into Monday into Tuesday. And then Wednesday, the computer models insist that there's still something else out there. So next week, we'll see bigger changes to the weather. 70 for your high tomorrow. Oh, so nice. Soak it in. This kind of weather will not be with us in November, I can guarantee you. But it will be so very, very nice for you. In St. George, 87, 88, 89. And then next week, like I said, there's that trend towards slightly cooler. 70 degrees on Monday, slight chance for a little thunder shower. Tuesday, 66. And for Salt Lake City and the Wasatch Front and the Tooele Valley, it's going to be 70 tomorrow with 73 Thursday, 76 Friday. Saturday and Sunday will be partly cloudy, 77 both days, and then turning cooler with a slight chance for a shower or a thunder shower Monday into Monday night and Tuesday, turning cooler on Tuesday. That's a look at your weather forecast.
There's a big college football game on Saturday. 14th ranked Utah at number 18 USC. And the Utes will be looking for a two-way player to help beat the Trojans for a fourth time in a row. Sione Vaki started the season playing only on defense as the Utes starting strong safety, but after some injuries to other running backs, he's now playing both ways. Running the football, he had 15 carries for 158 yards and 2 touchdowns in the win against Cal, and he's expected to play another big role against the Trojans with a newly discovered nickname.
Mr. Everything. Yeah, that dude does everything. It's crazy. They called him that in high school. I just found that out today. So,
wow.
I mean, it makes sense to me. He's a guy that could just make things happen. He's an incredible athlete. He's a big competitor, and, you know, he's a big part of our offense now, and we're going to continue to utilize him.
Obviously adds a real dynamic to the offense that's we've lacked. The decisiveness and explosiveness of Sione was on display on Saturday, and we look to build on that package moving forward. It's a big task being a two-way player, but he's the man for the job, and until Coach Witt says don't give him the ball anymore, we're going to keep giving him the ball.
Yeah, and it should be a great game, and you can watch the Utes take on the Trojans right here on Fox 13 with kickoff set for 6 o'clock at the LA Coliseum. BYU's coming off a disappointing loss to TCU, losing by 33 points. The Cougars are now 1-2 in Big 12 play, which has them tied for 10th, but they are 4-2 overall, with a chance this week to pick up another win at home on Saturday when they host Texas Tech.
Yeah, it's definitely tough after a week like that and a loss like that, but the best way to come back from those was with a lot of energy and effort. My mentality this week is let's have a perfect week. Do everything we possibly can do and see what the outcome will be. Just kind of test it. Let's go test it and see what we can do this week if we do everything perfect this week.
High school soccer's 6A girls semifinal between Layton and Lone Peak. It was scoreless till the final minute of the match. Lone Peak, a late corner kick. Ruby Lee heads it in, and Ivy Harding taps it in for the game-winning goal. Lone Peak won it 1-0. They'll play American Fork in the state championship game. Brighton and Bountiful played in the 5A semifinal. It was scoreless through regulation and overtime, so it went to a penalty kick shootout. Brighton's shot went off the post in the 4th round, so Bountiful could win it with this kick from Oakley Jensen, and she puts it away. The Redhawks won the shootout 5-3 to advance. Bountiful will play Maple Mountain in the championship game. We'll be right back.
The Hogle Zoo's 2 elephants, Christy and Zuri, officially moved out today with the help of that crane. They're being moved to a new zoo so they can socialize with more elephants. Hogle Zoo won't know which zoo they will be going to until after they've arrived safely. So safe travels to our elephants.
Yeah, there they go. Yes. Those elephants look remarkably like moving boxes.
They sure do.
Post
They
Malone
need
can't
it.
talk them out of it?
No, apparently not.
Stay.
Quick Cast up next.